Alright, welcome back to Android application development. If you haven't already voted in the poll, please do. Let me know what you're interested in seeing today. It looks like most people are looking for help on file I/O, which makes sense. A lot of you needed file I/O to accomplish what you were thinking of. As a reminder, before we get started, you're due to submit something like your minimum viable product by the next checkpoint, which is coming up, I think, next week. So by that point, you should have the least that could be considered accomplishing your goal. So if you're making, let's say, a game, you've got maybe one level finished, or the basic kind of test level finished, but you don't have anything else. Maybe you don't have all the enemies you want, maybe you don't have all the obstacles you want, maybe you don't have all the interactions you want in that scene, but it can be played, that level can be done, maybe it can even be won. I think that's probably the minimum that you would need to call it viable. If you're doing like a productivity app, like a to-do list or something, you should at least be able to add items to it and query it, and it should open and close and remember your items, those basic things. So just the least that could be defined by the criteria that you gave me when you told me what you wanted to do at the beginning. And then the rest of the semester, you're going to be adding features. So it's kind of a tall order. I basically expect you to be done, in a sense, the sense that you have a functioning thing. But that's the requirement. All right. It doesn't look like I got any other propositions, so it looks like most of the interest is on file I/O. I'm going to make... let's think. So file I/O can be simple if you're only doing it in certain circumstances, and then complicated if you're doing it in circumstances like, let's say we take the web crawler that we built last time, right? And let's say that we wanted to save the HTML that we got to a file. That would be pretty complicated because we need to receive the asynchronous information there and then write it to the file. So that can be complicated. On the other hand, file writing can be much easier than that too. So let me, I will start a new one, but I'll see if I can contrive some more complicated scenarios. So call this empty activity, call this file IO playground. Rid of that window. And I'll be right back while this does its thing. Okay, well, Gradle's almost done. It's good enough. Alright, let's make a couple buttons and stuff so I can test it out. Switch this to a linear layout. I saw that most people were doing the same thing where they ended up with linear layout. Why don't you tell me from your experience, did you play around with constraint first and then realize that it's not as rosy as it appears, or did you just go straight to linear? What was everybody's experience? Let me know in either chat. Did you just end up not liking what you saw when you were playing with, what's it called? That's a weird setup. Straight to linear CBA to deal with constraints. Yeah, definitely better to have your parent as a linear. I think it's strange to me that they decided that they were going to let the constraint layout be the default. It's always really weird to me. So 70, 15, 15. Well, good enough. enough anyway. Let's get them looking a little prettier, I guess. Whoops, changed the wrong one. Type some stuff. And this is going to be the, I'll just call that text box. We'll call this button save. Change its text to save. Call this button load. Change the text to load. Okay, so we're just going to save and load some text. Much harder to save and load stuff that's not text, but at the end of the day, what you want to do if you're saving something that's not text is to try to convert it to as much of a text-like state as possible. I always recommend people use CSV, which just means comma-separated values, so you have whatever values you're trying to store separated by columns, and then when you go to load them, you've got to do the decryption part, figure out what it is that your data actually looks like. So you've got to do a little bit of kind of encoding to convert whatever it is you're trying to convert into a bunch of values separated by text. So let's say you have a list and you want to save it exactly. In addition to saving maybe the exact text of the item in the lists, maybe you also need to save their positions and stuff. So maybe the format goes something like text of the item, then its position as an integer separated by commas, then text of the next item, then position separated by a comma. Maybe that's the kind of format you used. I don't know. Then on the receiving end, when you load it, you've got to read, you encounter a string, and then you know that's text, so you pull that as a text, then you read the next thing in, that's an integer, you read that as the position, and then you put those back into the list as they're supposed to be. So you have to think as you go about the way that you could save all of your data as text, because that's usually the easiest way to do it. Now, of course, the alternative is to save it as something like JSON, also great. So if you can figure out how to do that, that's also perfect, but it depends on your application, depends on your needs, what the best way to save it is. For me, I think the preference, until you get to relatively complicated stuff, is going to be text. So if you look up Android, let's say, save to the file system, you're probably going to get the kinds of stuff that you get in Java. The file I/O, buffered reader, read and write to that. In the Android, I guess, developer page here, they show you all the wonderful nuances of storage, and my God, are there a lot of them. And they want you to answer questions like, how much space does your data require? How reliable does your data access need to be? What kind of data do you need to store? Should the data be private to your app? They don't really answer these very well. So if you're storing documents, it looks like most of you are storing documents. They want you to use the storage access framework. They say you don't need any permissions, and you can access the documents of other apps through the picker. I don't think it's true that you don't need permissions. I don't know how they intend to do that. App preferences, it doesn't look like anybody is interested in these, but you can store these. They basically go into a map. I guess let me know in either chat if you think you need to store app preferences. These really just come down to things like, should it be full screen? Is dark mode enabled? Would be a common one you might store in your preferences library. App-specific files would be something else that your program might fall under. So you could fall under documents and files if you just stored straight text, or you could fall under app-specific files since your files are probably encoded in a particular way. They still recommend to access the internal storage, and they tell you, again, permissions are not needed for internal storage, not needed for external storage. I don't think that's right either. The only one that really resonates with me in my experience is this one, that you need both read and write storage in order to access files, and that's considered to be a relatively dangerous permission. So I guess looking at this let me know in either chat, those of you who are doing file I/O, which one best describes your use case. Are you trying to store app-specific files? Are you trying to store media? That's images, audio files, and videos. Are you trying to store documents, so shareable content, including downloaded files, or app preferences, or some combination of those things? And they want you not to hard code file paths. Haha. Good luck with that. Alright. Let's look at some examples. Android. Save text file. Alright. We'll start with these two. And go from there. I need to set up all my button listeners and stuff too. Okay, let me set up all those button listeners. Say dot set on click listener new on click listener. Oh, good. Did it in one shot. Lovely. And then we'll do the same for load. Alright then. And alright, loves lambdas. So let's give them what they love. Alright. Alright, methods for both of those things. Void save. You know, let's make the buttons in the edit text global so that I can access them more easily. So save, load, text box. So most of you didn't, well, nobody responded, which means most of you are probably going, I have no idea which one of those things I want. And that's perfectly fair. Like I said, for me, it's hard to differentiate them. I don't know, what's a document? What's a text file? It must have been clear to the Android people, but it's definitely not clear to me. Okay. So save and load. All right. Let's try this simple example that I got from the internet and to see what happens. So I'm going to say string text equals textbox dot get text dot toString, and we'll try to write that to a file. Oh, I also need the context. Application context. Alright, so I'll run this on my phone, and we'll see what happens. Let's see what your bet is. Now, it didn't say anything in that stack post about asking for permissions or anything, although I'm sure somebody will mention it at some point. So we'll see if it works without permissions in the version of Android that I have available anyway. Alright, so, let me open up my phone preview thing too, so you can watch and see if it crashes in real time. Okay, file IO playground. I'll write some other junk in there. Okay, save. Looks like something happened. Alright, where can I find this file? Where can I find this file? So context.openFileOutput. It's config.txt is what it's supposed to be called. Where am I going to locate it? Let's see if it gives me any hints. The app is saved in the apps file directory, so let's go hunt that thing down. Alright, so hopefully this thing shipped with a file manager. It did. Alright, so files. We have one picture in here apparently. Alright, let's go to probably not images. Videos. Recents. Nope. Downloads. Nope. System traces. That doesn't show me anything. Okay, so this is a pretty limited file browser. It doesn't look like I can actually get anywhere. Maybe I could show internal storage. Oh, yeah, there we go. Now I can see the whole phone. Okay, so where would my apps be? They're going to be under probably Android, data. What's this app called? I don't think I actually named it, but probably called File IO Playground. Let's see. I got COM1+, 1+, 1+, Google. Oh man. Maybe I can search for it. Maybe I'll get lucky. File IO Playground. Nope. So where is it? Where is it? Let's go for loading in the meantime. Read from file. Let's see if we can get it back. There's a few different examples out there that use buffered stream reader, input stream reader, buffered reader, input reader, scanner. They're all the same. It doesn't really matter. Like, if you've done file IO in Java, then you'll probably remember that there's a bunch of different options. So. Okay, so I want to load, and then I want to set the text equal to what I got back. So text box dot string text equal read from file. Okay, and then text box dot set text. Alright, so I'm going to close out of my app and then restart it completely. Okay, and load. Nothing happened. Alright. Let's see. Load, nothing happened. Save, nothing happened. Load, save, load, save. Something happened, it all disappeared. Saved. Load. Nothing. Alright. So let's go to my logcat and see what's going on. So I will print something at the end there. Do the same here. Save. Failed. File not found. No such file or directory. Well, not unexpected, but let's see. Where did it actually try to put it? Since we're trying to figure that out. So I went to data, user, go back. Data, user, 0. Where's that folder at? It's not even here, right? It's not even an option. Whoops, just close the file manager. All right, there is no data folder. So this kind of file saving, what this person is trying to do here, using one of those built-in Android things, what do I want to call it? Built-in places where you can store your files. There's no easy way to access it. So, it's pretty annoying if you needed to deal with the file system. For example, if you wanted to be able to connect the phone to the computer and read the files out, which was possible for some of you, and I've had to do that in the past. It's really annoying to actually find where that stuff is at in the file system, if you can find it at all, that kind of hidden folders. So data, user, 0, IO playground, file, text. Anyway, all right. So how do we get it to create the file? Context.open. File output. And then I think if I just change it to one of the other modes, it should be able to do it. Nope, no such file found. Okay. If we add read and write external storage to the manifest, read external storage and write external storage, as this person recommends, that might be the issue. It might just throw file not found when it runs into a permissions issue in this case. That's not unusual either. Nope, no such file or directory still. Okay, so we'll call that one a bust, as most of them will be. Oops. So as before, I'm going to cheat a little and just pull up one of my old ones. And then we'll look at why some of the examples on stack don't work, hopefully. All right. So we'll look at this one I've got here. Write to SD. We'll call this, we'll make our own folder here. We'll call it file IO playground. Okay, I used file writer here instead of output stream writer and buffered reader, but that doesn't make a difference. The difference here is that I'm writing to a specific directory here instead of trying to write to the context open file output this tries to open the application's package for writing the file. This just writes to the file system in the old school Java way, actually just making the file on the file system somewhere. And you need to specify the file name and the body and the implementation that I have, so it's a little bit different. Let me just do that there, so it'll be write. I don't know why it's uppercase W. There we go, consistency. So write to SD, and I'll call this text box contents. We'll do the text. Let's call it text box contents.text, so it knows to open it in a text editor. And append is whether or not you want it to write to the file as overwriting the content that's already in it, or if you want it to write to the file as continuing to append onto the end of it. So if you have something like a log that logs everything that the application's done, you'll probably be writing on the end of it. So first, let me get rid of these two permissions and show you what happens when you try to write to the general file system. So you're going to have a bad time. Wait, is it still trying to open the other one? That's weird. Yep. File not found exception. Okay, I'll bring these back now and run this again. And we get file not found exception here too. Interesting. Alright, but you'll see, hopefully, in the file system at least, that it will have created under 1+ here a folder. Might need to refresh. Oops, not even showing it. It should create a folder here. But it looks like it's not happy with either of our approaches. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to look this up. I was not expecting that. Oh, well, yes, I didn't create it. That makes sense. If, what did I call it? Oh, that's strange. It's still trying to do the config.txt there. Do I have my click listeners set up wrong? That's weird. Now I'm confused. Sorry folks, this is odd. It seems to be running the other write to file name. If you can find the typo that I made here, that would be awesome, because I am definitely missing it. I am not getting that write to SD printing out. It is still trying to run this for some reason. It's trying to run the old version. really bizarre. And now I'm not getting either of those two things happening, so might have desynced from Gradle or something. It's really unusual. Let me just close out everything, kill all this, and clean the project and try again. Yeah, that is bizarre. That is really, really bizarre. Alright, let's try some more. Not even getting that. Wow. Alright, time to try turning it off and on again. Okay. Looks like I am still looking at the same error. And it is still trying to save things to that config file. Alright, let me erase these completely. Comment them out. Maybe that's the root of the issue. Something going on there. Oops. Yeah, that's not going to work. Get rid of that too. Uh-huh. Okay, so it's still trying to invoke those because now I just get nothing. So that's a good sign. But on the other hand, I still need to figure out why that's happening. Let me see if I maybe just doesn't like the fact that these are named the same thing here. So maybe it likes save file and load file instead. I'm also thinking maybe the usage of the lambda there makes it unhappy, but it shouldn't be. It should just pass its view along. That shouldn't be a problem. And I should at least get that output, that save output. So let me add it here too, so that I know if that's going to be an issue there. Again, real curious bug, but that's the kind of stuff you get when you work in Android Studio. I'm still getting neither of those two things. So it looks like I've not set up my click listeners properly. So let's try that again. Clock click. Alright, I'm not even getting that to fire. Nope, neither of those two things. Okay, well, then it looks like I set up the listeners incorrectly. Doesn't even print start. Alright. Well, that is genuinely perplexing. I see a typo there, so that's a problem, but that shouldn't have really affected it. Maybe that did. So I had save for both of these instead of load. Oh boy, that was it. Okay, so I guess it didn't like, two IDs being the same find and then having the same click listener. Well, that is a very nice silent failure that took me 15 minutes to determine. Thanks, Android. That was really helpful. Okay, back to what we were doing. I added those things to the manifest. I had write to SD called. I can probably get rid of quite a few of these. And let's go again. All right. Alright, so now I'm going to try to save and then examine the errors that I get. So I get, again, no such file or directory, create file exclusively, and blah, blah, blah. So let's go back to the phone's file system, and we'll see. Geez. Sorry, guys, that was terrible. That was a really dumb bug. Android Studio is a wonder. Alright, we should see now, if the file's written successfully, a folder be made, but since it wasn't, it looks like the folder wasn't created for me, and the error is going to be at that create new file line that I have there. Now I did add that in response to a bug that wasn't actually a bug at all, so let me see, maybe I can do without it. Alright, same deal. I can't open the file because it doesn't exist yet. Alright, file not found exception, etc., etc. Alright. And it is trying to write the correct file in there. Alright. And if I have it with the file writer there, creating a new file, then I get a different error. I get unable to create the file, as we saw. So I get the no such file or directory error. If I go back to the original post where I was first trying to answer this. Okay. So I have both the mkdir and the file path happening. And now I have no such file directory. You get the same error if you don't have permissions. Did I actually specify the right external storage permission? I think I did. Let's see, I might have spelled it incorrectly. Android name equal permissions right external storage. No, I did. Well, I can try to see if the directories that I'm looking for exist. Nope, phone locked. Still nothing. That is rough. Let's see where it's trying to write the file to. Oops. And this is the easy one. So it's trying to write the file to textboxcontents.txt. Oh, I actually wanted the whole file name there. Get absolute path. Let's see. Storage emulated 0 file IO playground textboxcontents.txt. So if I look at my storage system, the emulated is actually this folder there. So there should be a folder called file IO playground, but there isn't yet. So perhaps just creating that folder will fix the issue. But I should be able, it should have created the folder for me. So file IO playground. So if this is an issue, I'm still going to have to go back and make sure that it's actually capable of creating the directory without me having to do it manually. Nope, so that wasn't it. Oh, now I have permission denied. Permission denied is an improvement over the previous situation. Alright, I have permission denied now for create new file. Okay, so let's look up why I might get permission denied. Create new file. Permission denied. You know, I think I finally remembered what it is. I think I need to add an additional permission to... Yep. Alright, so in versions of Android beyond 7, I think, which is the one that we're on, in order to write to the file system, which is again considered to be a dangerous permission, you need to ask for storage writing requirements as well as listing them in the manifest. So, boy, let's do what this guy's asking here. You need to have these couple methods, put them at the bottom. Let's go very, very bottom. These couple of methods that will, at the beginning of your class, pop up the little system utility that asks if you want to grant the application read and write permissions. Don't ask me why Android just failed silently instead of informing me of this, but I literally just remembered, and of course it's not in any of the stack posts because it was only added in a relatively recent version. Let's see if I have to do anything special to invoke it. Let's see, no, you have to do it at the beginning of the application. Call it when the app launches, right? Verify storage permissions here on 8, so we want to verify storage permissions there. Do I need to pass the activity in? Yep. Okay. And if everything is done correctly, then when it launches, it should pop up. Aha, there we go. And now, when I hit allow, and now I hit save, hopefully now it's better. Let's see. Permission denied. Try again. Oh, permission denied again. Okay. Launch the app. I'm going to relaunch the app. Did I accidentally say no when it asked me for permission? Oh boy, let's make sure I didn't accidentally check no when it asked me for permissions. So there, apps, permissions. Storage. It's not listed under here, so yes, I must not have given it permission to access the storage. Let's see. Permissions. Oh no, it does have permission storage. Okay. Probably need to give it more than that. Let me go back and cheat a little to my example. I'll see what permissions I asked for. Let's write external storage, request external storage. Granted request. Okay, that looks the same. This is 112. Non-static. Oh, right. Still permission denied. All right, let me try the other writer that I got from the interwebs. Perhaps that one is more successful than mine. So rather than write to SD, I'll try the one that writes to the config file. Probably best to uncomment those now that I'm trying them again. There we go. Okay, finally I saved some stuff to the file system. Alright. Not sure why I still have permission denied here on mine. I'm guessing that something is not allowed to occur. In fact, now that I think about it, I'm pretty confident that it was those two lines that I added. Let me try again with those removed. I don't think that even with the permissions, Android lets you create directories like that. So if that was it, that would be sad indeed. Nope, that wasn't it. Alright, then I'm going to give up on that one. Maybe I'll upload it later for you once I figure out what the defect is with it. But something to do with permissions, it's still not happy with. Alright, so this I can now do. I can save some stuff to the file system. And let me save some stuff there, save it, and then close this application entirely. Dismiss it from everything altogether, so I'll dismiss it there too. And now I can launch it again. Just find it in my app drawer. There's File.io Playground, and it should be able to load in that same stuff. So the load part definitely not working at this time, but that's because I commented it out. So that makes total sense. Okay, launching it again. Got load. Alright, there's all the text that I put in there. I did set it to append mode there. I'd probably set it back to private so that it doesn't append. So one more time, let's go and save the file. So some words here, save, I'm gonna close out of the whole thing. Get rid of that. File.io Playground, load, and there's my words again. Okay, so I was able to do the easy one. It only took me like an hour. Now let's do the difficult one, which is that, I think I already closed it, the Jetpack settings one. So Android Jetpack application settings example. It's that. That's a difficult one. Okay, so preference screen, XML resource, hierarchy, okay. So, to use the Jetpack, you need quite a few different components. Hopefully somebody has a simpler example than this. This is just irritating Androids. This one's not bad. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to take too long to do. Alright, Android saving files. Go back and look at the other examples that they have available. So you have, this will work for media, and this will work for app-specific files. This is actually designed for those app-specific files here because it opens the file output directly like that. And if you want to save something more complicated like pictures and such, I think we should probably leave that example for another day. Yeah, sorry, I don't think we have enough time to do another one. I think I ran into too many bugs this time around. Okay, well, in the last 15, I saw a couple people still had questions, and I still need to meet with a couple people for the last checkpoint. So I'm just going to hang out in Discord for the remainder of the class period. Now, if you want a different file writer, so if this one doesn't do it for you, or you want to be able to do it without accessing these two permissions. Now, I think because this one uses the context folder, it doesn't actually need the permissions. So let me give that a shot and confirm that before I say that for certain. Alright, I can still save and load. Alright, let's see if I can do that if I disable the permission on this thing. Apps. File. Let's take its permissions away. Okay, it doesn't have any permissions. All right, great. So yes, this works even if you are not getting permissions, but it doesn't create a folder in the file system anywhere that's easy to access. I do see that this one actually worked and created the folder, so it looks like it was almost there, the other one. So yeah, I'll figure out what the bug is there and upload the version that has both to Canvas. I think, I don't know, figure it out. Okay, so 15 minutes to go. I guess I'll play around with it and see. I'm sure at this point I'm going to have a permission denied since I changed it to the other variant. So yes, that's permission denied there. If I add these things back to the manifest, then it will ask me for the right permission on startup again. Allow, save, and then I still get permission denied. Happens when you try to save the file. I guess it's possible that they crunch down even harder on the file writing permissions that are accessible in this latest version. This phone is running a pretty up-to-date one, so it seems to be the case. They've crunched down on it even harder. Okay, yeah. Any specific questions, I'll see you in Discord. If neither of these two approaches do it for you, obviously the SD card one is flawed, but it definitely works in legacy Android, so I don't know. So if neither of these two approaches work for you, let me know and I'll upload an additional example. Okay, see you in Discord or see you next time.